Hello, welcome back to Fred in the Shed and another video and another PMR radio sent in again by Retevis. Now, Retevis came in contact with me a while ago and they said, yeah, Fred, we'd like you to do another radio review. And I said, yeah, no problem, it's all content for the channel. But I said, tell you what, why don't you send me in one of your cheaper radios? What is your cheapest radio? And they said, well, Fred, we do an RB618 radio that comes in at under $15, so that's about what, just £10.5–11, something like that. So I said, yeah, let's send it in. Let's see what you get at the bottom of the range. Let's see how a budget radio looks. So they did. So here it is. This is the RB618. Now I had a little quick look when it arrived about a week ago. I haven't had a proper look in the box just to check that everything is there. So again, this is incredibly budget. You know, £11, it's not exactly a lot of money, is it? So I'm not quite sure what to expect. Well, that's the radio itself. It doesn't, straight in the hand, it's got a little bit of weight to it. It doesn't feel like a cheap radio. Put that to one side for a second. Let's see what we get in the box for our 11 UK pounds. Okay, here's the instruction manual, an English written manual. I'm a bit funny about those things, but yeah, that's absolutely fine. That seems to be quite well written. They do have a PDF manual on the website itself, but yeah, absolutely fine. Can't argue with that. What else have we got? Okay, we've got a neck lanyard if you wanted to wear the radio around your neck. Oh, we've got a programming cable. That's quite good because you can alter these radios in software. Some of these radios you can be a little bit naughty and you can turn the power up. Normally not PMR radios, but I will have a look later on, see if we can be a little bit naughty with this radio, but I don't suppose we can. A couple of little screws. I imagine that's for the belt clip. There you go. And then the standard belt clip. So that's fine. No problems there. So the radio itself, well, straight out of the box, there's one thing I'm liking straight away, and that is a proper rotary on-off switch, and I assume that's volume control. Yeah. Oh, that's good. I mean, up and down volume controls are fine, but I personally do like a volume control. Oh, it's got one of those little screen protectors on. I rather like taking these off. There's something quite nice about that. Right, the display's gone off. I assume it's got a power save function. Assuming that's, oh, you've only got half a charge there on the battery, so I'm going to need to charge the battery up. So just a quick overview on the front of the radio here.
2 1 2 1.
Nice LED, is that LED or OLED display? Looks like an OLED display showing you at the moment the battery charge, showing that it's got the CT frequencies, and also showing the channel number. Speaks to channel number as well.
3 4 5 6.
So that's good if you've got someone that suffers with impaired vision, something like that. Now this is a bit odd. You've got a monitor button there. So if this is using the privacy codes, which I assume it is, that's quite good, just to check that the channel is clear, because you could have someone using an analog radio like a Bofang or something like that, could be on the channel. But you've got a PTT, a push to talk button on the front, and also a second one. That's a bit unusual. Second one on the right. Yeah, okay, that's fine. On the side here, we've got a little rubber door, if you like, and brilliant, there you go. Standard Kenwood two-way socket. So in theory this should take all of the Kenwood accessories, such as the very cheap lapel mics and the earpieces, things like that. Also I imagine that's where the programming cable goes in. I don't suppose that's IP64 waterproof or anything like that. It's just probably splash proof. On the back there's the little USB charging socket there. There's an LED for the charging, a screw for the belt clip, and a clip there that obviously goes into the battery. So the specs on this radio: 0.5 of a watt, half a watt, UK legal power, fixed antenna, no license needed. You can use these anywhere in the UK. The battery is built-in lithium ion, 1000 mAh. This one does need a charge. So we've got the standard 16 legal PMR channels, but also you've got the CTCSS and CTCS channels, which is basically privacy codes. That's analog and digital. I believe there's 50 analog codes you can use, and then there's 105 digital codes that basically you can use as well. So it just gives you the options of privacy on your channel, but just bear in mind, if someone is using an analog receiver like a Bofung, they will hear your transmission. It's just that you won't hear theirs, so it's not complete privacy. This radio also features a timeout function as well, timeout talk function, adjustable from 30 seconds to 300 seconds. Just keeps a good idea to keep that on if you're giving this maybe to a child or an elderly person and they're going to key up for too long. It'll just make sure the battery doesn't last out. Has a Vox feature, that is a voice activated feature. Again, someone with perhaps a disability or unable to push either of these PTTs, and that's another good thing. In fact, you've got two PTTs, just make it a little bit easier to use. But with a Vox function, they can use just the power of their voice to activate the radio. That will be adjustable in software as well. Busy function, busy channel function, lockout. Again, built-in Squelch, adjustable from 0 to 9 via software. 0 would be completely off, which would be a bit annoying because it'd be like that all the time. But again, I generally set my Squelch quite low. I set it at about 1, and that receives most stations. Auto power save, well, you can see that every now and then the little OLED display switches off. You don't need that on all of the time. Monitor function, which I've already covered. Has a scan function, so you can scan through the channels. I think that's basically about it. Has a built-in flash lamp. Okay, it's not bad. Yeah, I mean, it'd probably get you out of trouble. Maybe not the brightest of flash lamps, but yeah, overall, do you know what? It's a nice little radio for £10 or £11 UK. Yeah, it's much better than I thought it would be out of the box, and I do like the on-off switch there.
Power on. 40.
Kids going around with flash iPhones, Samsung phones, things like that, there's always a risk they're going to drop them and break them, or even worse, they might be mugged for their phones. Well, a couple of these cheap radios clipped to their belts isn't really going to be much of a problem. And likewise with the elderly, again, if this was broken for any reason, you're not going to sort of cry really on what it costs. Going to do the range testing now. Now, those of you that follow the channel, you know the format. I'm not looking for maximum range in this little PMR radio. For that, you would need to go outside, have both radios out in the open. You would need to be on high ground, and you can get kilometres and kilometres. No, I'm looking for local range. Now, I live in a very built-up housing estate, lots of dense houses, cars, infrastructure, things like that. So I'm only going to be looking sort of for hundreds of metres. I'll probably test this radio up to a maximum of about half a kilometre, but as long as it gets back to the RT45 here, then that'll be a good test. Now, the RT45 radio, it's indoors. As you can see, I've got a window behind it, so a kind of accurate test if you want to use these radios around the home, and I kind of feel that's where these radios probably both fit in. But anyway, right, let's take the little £11 radio, get out on the streets, and let's see how she does. Right, first test, 150 metres from the home base there, so it shouldn't be any problem at all for this little radio. Yeah, audio test 1, 2, audio test 1, 2, 150 metres.
Audio test 1, 2, audio test 1, 2, 150 metres from the QTH. Audio 1, 2, 1, 2, audio.
At my next stopping point now, and about 230 metres from the QTH, so just come out a little bit further by a main road, and I've put a couple of rows of houses between me and the base station, so let's give it a test. Yeah, audio test 1, 2, audio test 1, 2, 230 metres in the middle of a housing estate.
Test 1, 2, audio test 1, 2, 230 metres in the middle of a housing estate. Audio 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, audio.
Right, another test, about 350 metres now out from the QTH by a main road, and another row of houses between me and the home base, so going to give it a test. Yeah, testing 1 2 1 2 audio 1 2 audio. 350 meters from the QTH.
Yeah, testing 1 2 1 2 audio 1 2 audio. 350 meters from the QTH via main road. Lots of houses between us. Testing 1 2 1 2 audio.
Final test now. 512 meters, so half a kilometre out from the home base. So a fair test for a little half watt £11 radio. Let's give it a go. Yeah, testing 1 2 1 2 audio. Testing 1 2 audio. Half a kilometre from the home base.
Testing 1 2 1 2 audio. Testing 1 2 audio. Half a kilometre from the home base. Testing audio 1 2 1 2 1 2 audio.
The last test to do is just to test the receive from the radio. So we're going to reverse things and transmit, and we'll see how that little speaker sounds.
Testing 1 2 1 2 audio. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 audio.
Going to look at the programming options now for the RB618. This will allow you to set some of the parameters on the radio and adjust some of its settings. To get the radio to communicate with your computer, the first thing you need to do is purchase the additional 2-pin programming cable from Retevis. Thankfully, it's not expensive, just over £4 UK. I'm only going to do a very quick basic guide here. Now, if you've never programmed one of these radios before and you're a little bit apprehensive, I did a much more complete guide a while ago. I'll leave a little card that pops up at the top of the screen. I suggest you pause the video and you go off and watch that now. To get started, go to the Retevis website, find the 618 radio. And then if you look at the top right hand corner, you'll see there's a section for support. There's two things that we're interested in here. First is a universal USB driver that works with the cable. You need to download and install that. And then secondly is the programming software itself. So go ahead and download those. I find things always work best if you restart your computer. Then simply plug the programming cable first into the 2-pin Kenwood socket on the radio and then into USB on your computer. The next stage is to read the information from the radio. Once you've launched the programming software, I suggest you go to Settings and look at Communication Port. Just check that the radio is connected. Mine connected straight away automatically to COM port 3. We can now go ahead and click the read button and the information from the radio will be downloaded into the program. Firstly, on the left hand side, you have a password option. This is an option to lock the radio in all its settings. Maybe if you're going to give this to a young child, something like that. Then moving across that, SQL. This is the Squelch setting where it blocks the static. It's set at 5 on default. I think that's a little bit high. I always like to set my radios at 1. Looking around the options, there's only really 2 that I would suggest changing. The scan, I'll come back to that in a second. The Vox option, which is over on the right hand side, this is voice activation. This will mean that as soon as someone starts talking, the radio will transmit. Again, another option you might want to switch on if you're planning to give this to someone that has a disability and they cannot push the PTT button. You can turn off the Roger bleep at the end of the transmit. And then finally, the TOT timeout timer. Again, if you've got someone that likes to key up the radio for a long time, you can automatically adjust the radio to cut out to save the battery. Now, one feature that I was surprised that you could only activate this by the software is the scan feature, where you hold down both channel select buttons and the radio automatically scans the 16 built-in channel memories. This was by default switched to off, and I had to switch it on via the programming software, and I felt that could have been a bit easier if you could have done that on the radio, or maybe I just missed something there. Looking at the rest of the program, everything in grey, like the transmit frequencies, is locked. You can't change that. I don't think there's anything really you want to change here. I was hoping that I might be able to up the power of the radio. Sometimes you can crank these up to a couple of watts, but unfortunately on this model it is locked at half a watt. Just a couple of things to do before you're finished. I would suggest that you save these program settings in case you need to reprogram the radio in the future. And then finally, don't forget to write the new settings to the radio. Once that's complete, that's it. You're all done. Going to wrap this one up now with my final conclusions. Firstly, it's the price. £11 is really cheap, but it doesn't look a cheap radio. I've actually really enjoyed testing this radio. It fits nicely in the hand. It's small enough to fit into the pocket. I really like the linear volume control and the on-off switch there being on a pot on the top and not having to press up and down buttons. Yeah, it looks a nice little radio. Now, the dual PTT buttons, I was a bit perplexed by that at the beginning, but thinking about it, it could make perfect sense. If you're planning to give these radios to someone that maybe is disabled or perhaps has arthritis in their thumbs or fingers, they might find squeezing that side PTT a little bit challenging, but with the front button there, they're able to use perhaps even both their thumbs. So yeah, that actually makes sense when I sort of think about it. Now, criticisms, I've only got one criticism on the radio, and that was the fact that I couldn't get that scan function to work straight out of the box, and when I went into the programming software, it appeared that function was disabled and had to enable it via the software. Most people probably won't be interested in spending the extra £3 or £4 to buy the programming cable, so it's a shame that couldn't be activated by the buttons. Maybe I missed something there. It's possible, but that's really my only criticism. No, it's a great little radio. The range, obviously 0.5 kilometre, is absolutely fine. They will go further, of course. I've tested these radios, 0.5 watt fixed antennas, and they'll max out around my home base area. I'm in a very intense housing estate. They'll max out at about 1 kilometre, but to be safe, to have strong communications, 0.5 kilometre is fine. Of course, if you take these out in the open, if you go camping with the kids, or if you're on a farm, something like that, they'll go much further, probably 1.5 to 2 kilometres, no trouble, so there's no worries there. No, I've really enjoyed testing this radio. I will leave links to this radio on the Retevis website in the description. While you're there, have a look at the Retevis website. I mean, they do a whole range of these PMR radios. They're not expensive, but you can spend a little bit more money, get a few more features. There is another radio they've sent in, a more advanced model that I will be testing shortly, so look out for that. I think the radio guys will probably enjoy that one more. But as for now, I think it's a great radio. Does what it says on the tin. It's £11, very cheap, and handles really, really nice. So there you go. There's the old thumbs up from Fred. I do appreciate your view time. I'm a small channel. Subscribe if you want to see more PMR radios or check out some of the other reviews I've done. But as for now, as always, please, please, please take care, and I'll catch you all on the next one, guys.
You have to laugh. You do get some strange looks when you make these videos. I'm walking back now. I was at my 300 metre mark and doing the recording, and then there was someone staring at me out of their bedroom window, and I could just tell what they're thinking. They're looking down and saying, "Here, there's a nutter out there. He's talking to himself. Oi, nutter." So before he started banging on the window or came out, I had to scurry away. Oh dear. Heading back now. At least it's not snowing today. At least it's not snowing. So that's a good thing.